All right, let's jump right in. We're about to unpack the single biggest, most important shift in the entire history of artificial intelligence. This is the story of how AI went from being a perfect rule follower to a creative student. And trust me, understanding this leap is everything if you want to understand where our world is heading.
And it all really comes down to this one question. What's the actual difference between an AI that can master chess and an AI that can drive a car? They sound kind of similar, right? But the answer? Well, the answer reveals the entire story of the modern AI revolution.
You see, it turns out there are two fundamentally different ways to build an intelligent machine. And the leap from the old way to the new way isn't just a small step, it's one of the most important technological stories of our time. Okay, let's break this down with an analogy that I think makes it super clear. Think of the old AI as a cook with a perfect, massive recipe book. It can follow any instruction you give it flawlessly, but it can't invent a new dish. It's stuck with the recipes it was given. Now, modern AI, it's a whole different ballgame. It's more like a trainee chef. You don't give it recipes, you just give it a pantry full of ingredients. That's the data. And it learns by experimenting, by tasting, by figuring out what works, until it creates its own amazing new recipes. So let's start with that first approach, the meticulously crafted rulebook. This is where the whole story of AI really gets started. The official name for this approach was an expert system, and the core idea was pretty simple, really. The thinking was you could capture any kind of human expertise by just breaking it down into a giant list of if-then rules. You know, if the opponent moves their knight to this square, then I will consider these 3 countermoves. The machine's entire world, its entire intelligence, was defined by rules that humans wrote for it. And the ultimate showcase for this rulebook AI, the moment it really stepped onto the world stage, was that legendary 1997 chess match. You had the reigning world champion, Garry Kasparov, going up against IBM's supercomputer Deep Blue. This was a huge deal, humanity versus the machine, and everybody was watching. So how did Deep Blue end up winning? Well, it wasn't by being smarter or more creative than Kasparov. Not at all. It won through pure, unadulterated brute force. This machine could calculate 200 million possible chess moves every single second. It wasn't thinking the way we do, it was just using its rulebook to search through every possibility faster than any human could ever dream of. But here's the fundamental problem, the ceiling that this kind of AI could never break through. What happens when you've got a problem that you just can't write if-then rules for? Seriously, think about it. How would you write the rules to recognize a friend's face in a crowd? Or to understand sarcasm? You can't. And for decades, this one limitation kept AI stuck in a box. And that very limitation is what forced a totally new way of thinking. This is where we meet these student AI. And believe me, this is where everything, and I mean everything, changes. This is the AI that learns, that adapts, and that can actually go beyond its original programming. The new battlefield wasn't chess. It was the ancient game of Go, a game so complex it has more possible moves than there are atoms in the known universe. That whole brute force calculation thing, yeah, completely useless here. The challenger was a new AI from DeepMind called AlphaGo, and it was facing off against Lee Sedol, the undisputed master of the game. And then, during the second game, the machine did something that no one on Earth expected. It made a move, now famously known simply as Move 37, that left the entire world completely and utterly stunned. This quote really captures the absolute shock of the moment. The human experts, the best Go players on the planet, all thought it was a bug, a ridiculous amateur mistake. Lee Sedol himself was so thrown off he had to physically leave the room for 15 minutes to process what had just happened. The machine had done something no one thought was possible. It had been creative. And that's the whole secret right there. Move 37 wasn't the result of a massive brute force search. It came from something that looked an awful lot like machine intuition. By playing and analyzing millions of games, it had learned to see subtle patterns, to develop its own strategies. And it came up with a beautiful, creative move that no human had ever even considered. So here's how it actually did it. Unlike Deep Blue, which was stuffed with human chess knowledge, AlphaGo started with practically nothing, just the basic rules of Go, and then it played against itself millions and millions of times, learning from every win, every loss, and getting a little bit better each time. And get this,
In just 40 days, it went from being a total novice to a superhuman player. It was a true student. It taught itself.
So the story of AlphaGo is amazing, but it raises a huge question. Why is this all happening now? This wasn't just about one clever algorithm. It was really the result of a perfect storm. 3 massive technological shifts all converging at the exact same time.
Let's go back to our trainee chef analogy. All of a sudden, the pantry became infinitely large because data storage got ridiculously cheap. The ovens got exponentially more powerful thanks to a huge boom in processing power. And most importantly, the world started delivering a tidal wave of new ingredients in the form of all the digital data we create every single day. For the first time ever, we had all the pieces in place for machines to finally, truly learn. Now, this perfect storm gave rise to the 2 main branches of modern AI you hear about all the time. First, you've got machine learning. It's fantastic at finding patterns in nice, neat, organized data, like spreadsheets. It's great for stuff like predicting medical risks from a patient's chart. Then you've got deep learning, which is inspired by the structure of the human brain, and it excels at making sense of the messy, unstructured data of the real world, all the images, sounds, and sensor data a self-driving car needs to process. And this brings us to a really critical point. This new kind of AI isn't just a better form of automation. It's not just a faster robot arm in a factory. This represents a foundational shift in what technology is even capable of doing.
To really get the scale of this, you need to understand what economists call a general-purpose technology. This isn't just a single product. It's a foundational tool. Think of electricity or the steam engine or the internet. These things didn't just change one industry. They could be applied everywhere, and they unleashed waves of other innovations on top of them. That's the category AI now fits into.
And you can already see this happening all around us. It's being used in finance to spot fraud, in healthcare to diagnose cancer more accurately than a human radiologist, in our cars, and even in marketing to predict what we're going to buy next. This technology is quietly reshaping pretty much every industry you can think of.
And the stakes for businesses couldn't be higher. This is not some niche tech anymore. A staggering 3/4 of top executives now believe that if they don't figure out how to scale up AI in their companies, they risk going out of business. It has literally become a question of survival.
So if you take just one thing away from this whole story, let it be this. The AI revolution isn't really about making computers faster at following the rules we give them. It's about giving them the ability to learn their own rules from the world around them. That's the game changer. And that, of course, leaves us with a final, absolutely critical question. For centuries, our value as humans has been tied to our knowledge and our experience. But what happens when we live in a world with machines that can learn and gain experience all on their own? What does that mean for us? What's our new role in our world?